Good morning. I'm Nelly from Singapore Customs, and I will be sharing with you on the overview of Singapore Strategic Goods Control. This will be the outline of my presentation. Singapore Strategic Trade Control Regime comprises of the Strategic Goods Control Act and the trade prohibitions on United Nations Security Council sanctioned countries and entities regulated under the Regulation of Import and Export Regulation. So, what is strategic goods control? It refers to a system that regulates the transfer of strategic goods technology, or any document in which any strategic goods technology is recorded, stored, or embodied. We are not just concerned with goods itself, but with technology and related software. So strategic goods may be military items or dual-use items. Military items include the conventional arms such as guns and ammunition, while dual-use items refer to goods and technology which can be used in both commercial and military applications, and are actually capable of being used in the development or production of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons and missiles. The main aim of strategic goods control is to curb the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The fundamental philosophy behind strategic goods control is the total supply chain security, where each country in the global supply chain will do its part to put in place and effect strategic goods control systems so that the combined efforts will produce strong resistance against attempts to threaten international peace and security. Singapore implemented our strategic goods control system in January 2003. There were two main considerations for putting this system in place. The first consideration was security interests, as there were growing concerns of WMD proliferation and terrorist incidents which had significantly heightened worldwide concern on security and stepped up calls for more robust controls on strategic goods all around the world. As a responsible trading nation, Singapore demonstrated our commitment to international non-proliferation through implementing the Strategic Goods Control Act to prevent sensitive goods and technologies from landing into the wrong hands. The second consideration was economic interests. A robust strategic goods control system helps to maintain the confidence of our trading partners so that Singapore can continue to secure access to high-tech equipment and technology which are essential for the development of our economy. Supporting the Strategic Goods Control Act are three subsidiary legislation which set out the operational and technical details of the main act. The Strategic Goods Control Regulations provides the operational and detailed regulatory requirements. The Strategic Goods Control Order lists the controlled strategic goods and technology. Our SGCO was recently updated and took effect on 1st November 2021. The Strategic Goods Control Brokering Order lists the items for which a registration with customs is required before brokering of these items can be carried out. The SGCA also incorporates a catch-all control on goods and technology which are not specified in the control list, but which the trader knows, suspects, or has been notified by an authorized officer that they are intended or likely to be used, wholly or in part, for the development or production of any nuclear, biological, or chemical weapon and their means of delivery. This ensures the continued relevance of Singapore's controls to evolving technologies and weapons development program. Following Singapore's implementation of our strategic goods control system in January 2003, the United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 1540 in 2004. This resolution called on member states to implement controls through its domestic legislation to prevent the proliferation of WMD and related materials, which Singapore had already put in place in 2003. This resolution further demonstrates international commitment to curb WMD proliferation and terrorism and strengthen the basis for Singapore to continue to maintain an effective strategic goods control regime. The Regulations of Import and Export Act is the legal basis behind Singapore's implementation of UNSC sanctions, where transactions which will contravene the decisions of the UNSC in all UNSC resolutions are prohibited. Traders will be required to exercise due diligence to ensure that their transactions comply with Singapore's domestic laws and UNSC resolutions. Supporting the RIEA are several other legislations which are administered by various agencies. Next, I will share on our permit requirements. Permits from customs are required for export of strategic goods and related technology listed in the SGCO. A strategic goods permit is required to transship or bring in transit through Singapore goods that fall under the 4th and 5th schedules of the SGCR. And for goods that do not fall under the 4th and 5th schedules if they remain in the free trade zones in Singapore for more than 21 days by air and 45 days by sea. Beyond the listed control goods, permits are required for goods known or suspected to be used for WMD purposes, which is our catch-all clause. In Singapore, strategic goods permits are issued under the Strategic Trade Scheme. The STS aims to encourage companies to implement effective internal compliance programs and to provide greater facilitation in declaration procedures to legitimate traders who have robust ICPs and good compliance records. The STS consists of two types of permits: individual permits and bulk permits. Bulk permits are granted for traders who export, re-export, and transship strategic goods and transfer strategic goods technology based on specific entities. For export, re-export, and ITT, customs also issues bulk permits by countries of destination. So, exporters, manufacturers, logistic providers who wish to transfer strategic goods and technology can apply for individual permits where approval is granted on a per transaction basis. To apply for individual permits, traders must first be registered with customs. Traders can submit their strategic goods permit application together with the required supporting documents at least 5 working days before effecting the shipment. If the transaction is known or suspected to be for weapons of mass destruction purposes or catch-all, traders are also required to apply for an individual permit and more supporting documents will be required. Exporters, manufacturers, and logistic providers who can commit necessary resources to implement and maintain sufficiently robust ICPs and have short order fulfillment times can choose to apply for STS Bulk Permit. For the Bulk Permit scheme, traders have to be registered with customs, maintain a good compliance record with customs, effectively implement all 7 elements of an ICP, and achieve at least the enhanced band under our Trade First program. Prior to any transmission of control technology, an ITT permit, together with supporting documents, must be submitted to customs at least 7 working days before the intended transmission. Brokers who wish to broker items listed under the Strategic Goods Control Brokering Order must be registered with customs at least 14 working days before commencing with the brokering activities. Or ITT or brokering activities for items that could contribute to the development of or use in a weapons of mass destruction program must be approved by customs. Next, I will share on our outreach programs conducted by customs. In customs, We strive to ensure that companies comply with our regulations. For companies with good knowledge and are willing to comply with our regulations, we offer incentives to facilitate their business. For companies who are not willing to do so, we will take enforcement action against them. However, there is a group of companies who are willing to comply with regulations but simply do not have enough knowledge to do so. For this group, we try to educate them on how they can best comply with our regulations. So Customs conducts outreach with three objectives in mind. They are to raise awareness, to keep the industry up to date on international developments, and to promote internal compliance. We recognize the importance of outreach because outreach educates companies on our regulations, and this reduces the chance that companies will make errors out of ignorance. We also encourage traders to exercise due diligence and conduct checks on the entities that they're doing business with. This allows customs to spend resources on illegitimate traders who engage in illegal activities. Outreach also tries to get the public on board with governments on curbing WMD proliferation. This slide shows some of the different modes of outreach conducted by customs. With that, I've come to the end of my presentation, and thank you for your attention.